Most people use the words casket and coffin interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. They look different. They were designed differently, and they reflect completely different cultural histories. So what's the real difference? And why do we even have two words for the same thing? The visual difference. Let's start with the obvious. A coffin has 6 sides, os. It's wider at the shoulders and narrower at the head and feet. It follows the shape of the human body. A casket, on the other hand, is rectangular. 4 sides. Box-shaped. Uniform width. If you picture something from an old Western movie, that's usually a coffin. If you picture a modern American funeral, that's almost always a casket. So why the change? The history of the coffin. Coffins are older. Much older. They date back thousands of years. In medieval Europe, coffins were designed to use less wood. The tapered shape saved material. It was practical, efficient, affordable. They were common across Europe and early America, and they were simply called coffins. No marketing, just function. The birth of the casket. In the 1800s, something interesting happened. The funeral industry began to professionalize. Undertakers became funeral directors. Funerals became more ceremonial, and the word coffin started to feel too associated with death. So manufacturers introduced the term casket. The word originally meant a small decorative box for valuables, jewelry, treasures, something precious. Calling it a casket softened the language. It made it sound less grim, more dignified, more comforting. And along with the new name came a new shape. The rectangular design allowed hinged lids, half-open viewing panels, upholstered interiors. It looked more like furniture, less like a burial box. And in America, it stuck. Cultural differences. Today, the distinction is largely geographic. In the United States, casket is the dominant term. In the United Kingdom and much of Europe, coffin is still commonly used. Even modern rectangular designs in the UK are often still called coffins. So sometimes the difference is physical. Other times, it's linguistic. But in American funeral homes, if it's rectangular, it's almost always called a casket. Practical differences. There are also design differences beyond shape. Caskets typically have split lids, top half opens for viewing, are heavily padded inside, use more metal hardware, often come in metal versions. Coffins usually have a single full lid, often use simpler interiors, are more common in traditional or natural burials. Rectangular casket also uses more material, which makes it more expensive. So the shift wasn't just emotional, it was also commercial. Why the name change mattered. Language shapes perception. Coffin feels direct, blunt, associated with mortality. Casket feels softer, almost ceremonial. That shift helped funeral services become more consumer-facing. It turned something harsh into something marketable, a linguistic rebrand. And it worked. In the US, most people rarely even say coffin anymore. So what's the real difference? The real difference comes down to shape, origin, and marketing history. Coffins are tapered and older. Caskets are rectangular and emerged from a 19th century shift in funeral presentation. They serve the same purpose, but they reflect different cultural attitudes toward death. One is practical and traditional, the other is commercial and ceremonial. So next time you hear the words casket and coffin, you'll know they're not just synonyms. They're the result of design evolution, language shifts, and how society chooses to frame something as inevitable as death. Sometimes the difference isn't about function, it's about perception.